I'm Team T personally. So I'm a bit biased in that sense. All right, so about 19 people have joined and we do have 26 participants. So again, you can join at www.kahoot.it or within our Kahoot app. I also dropped a link to this Kahoot in the chat. And I will likely go ahead and get started here very soon. But you still are able to join the Kahoot even after we've gotten started. So feel free to continue to join and take part in this Kahoot. This will allow you to experience all of the features that Kahoot has to offer from a student perspective. And then also see Kahoot in the form of an interactive presentation, which is one of our most popular use cases specifically within higher education. All right, I'm pretty happy with 20, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to. So when you're joining the Kahoot, you do have to enter in a nickname. That's the nickname of you as a player. So you can enter in anything that you want to. It can be anonymous or it can be your actual name if you want, but this game pin 245854 should be the correct game pin to enter in at kahoot.it. All right, so welcome to, I call the session Kahoot EDU 101 to elevate engaging learning on your campus. And we're going to start with a word cloud. So I am interested in what are you most excited to learn about today? All right, okay, so gamifying basic functions, different questions, how I can use Kahoot, online tools, more features, general functionality, engagement, games. Awesome. So we are going to go through a lot of these things today. Again, not only through experiencing Kahoot, but we also will be going into the platform itself so you can see you know, how the basic function, how to launch a game, how to assign a game, and all those things, and adding scores to class gradebook if possible. Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. We will be going through the reports area of Kahoot as well. And for anyone who's joined, you still are able to join this Kahoot. All you need to do is go to kahoot.it and enter in the game pin. There hasn't been any points on the table yet, but there will be eventually. So I'm curious, which of these statements are true for you? So if you have created or edited a Kahoot, you've played a Kahoot, which is true as of right now, if you've joined it. You've hosted a Kahoot live, you've assigned a Kahoot, or is this your first introduction to Kahoot? All right, so a few have created, edited a Kahoot, a couple of newcomers to Kahoot, which is completely fine. You are experiencing a Kahoot right now. Awesome. So a little bit of varying experience here, but we will be going through most everything. It's not letting me answer. Make sure that you are answering the questions from, you know, the device in which you've joined the game from. If you're looking at Zoom, you're not going to be able to answer on my Zoom screen. So if you're, because I'm sharing my Zoom screen right now, so you can't click on the Zoom screen, you do need to join with a separate device of some kind. All right, so Kahoot EDU for higher education. So Kahoot is a learning and engagement platform. We started off doing quizzes basically, where you were able to create your own quizzes, or you were able to use existing quizzes that others would create as well. We've really expanded a lot past that. So there is that gamification of learning that we do really well. But Kahoot EDU is our solution that allows many educators to come together under one subscription, and it gives you access to our complete toolkit within Kahoot. So one of the features within Kahoot EDU is that you do have a 2,000 player limit, so you can play quite large Kahoots or host quite large Kahoots, whether that's live or assigned, which we'll be talking about. There's some branding you can do, but really most importantly, with Kahoot EDU, you do get analytics to track learning progress with our Kahoot reports. And then again, you do get that full toolkit. So every single feature that Kahoot offers, you have available to you in Kahoot EDU. Now, how higher education typically uses Kahoot, they use it for revision, review, or retrieval. They also use it for continuous low stakes assessment, to introduce and instruct on new content, as a reward or icebreaker, assigning homework or study resources, and then also for internal training and development. I'm using Kahoot right now to train you all on Kahoot, and you can do the same internally within your own departments as well. I like to say that Kahoot at the end of the day is a creative tool, because you are able to create your own Kahoots, but you're also able to use existing Kahoots as well. And we'll talk about both of those options. I dropped the game pin again into the chat in case anyone does want to join this Kahoot. Again, all you have to do is go to www.kahoot.it and enter in the game pin, enter in a nickname, and then you're part of this Kahoot. So true or false, with Kahoot EDU, you can play school-sized live games or student-paced assigned Kahoots of up to 2,000 players. All right, that is true. So your player limit is 2,000 with Kahoot EDU. All right, Team Coffee was quickest there. Team Juice not too far behind, and Team Tea needs to make up some points in the next questions that we have available. But this is our first leaderboard, and we are playing in team mode, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But rather than everyone competing individually, you are competing as a team, but all of you are answering questions within your team. All right, so now we're going to talk about the key elements of the Kahoot experience. So these are the core features. So when we're talking about general functionality, these are the ones that you need to keep in mind. So that creation, so creating your own Kahoots. So you can create your own learning games. You can also edit existing templates, existing Kahoots as well. And you can use our extensive question bank to bring in questions from other Kahoots that are available out in our Discover. And with Kahoot, there are two main ways to play. One is hosting live, which we're doing right now. It's our synchronous version of Kahoot, where I am actively hosting and you all are going along with me through this Kahoot at the exact same time. And then you can also assign Kahoots asynchronously. So this is our second way to play. So you can create a link with your Kahoot and then share that link with students, and they can complete it at their own time and even at their own pace as well. And then fourth, we do have gathering insights. So every Kahoot that is hosted or assigned does generate a report that you can get insights from to inform your instruction moving forward. So you can analyze class and also student performance. There is a fifth key element of a Kahoot experience too, which is all about sharing and collaborating. And we're also going to talk about how you can do that really easily within Kahoot EDU. All right, so within our Kahoot creator, which I will pull up, this is our Kahoot creator. So when you click on add question, these are the options that you have, and we do break them down into two categories of testing knowledge and collecting opinions. Testing knowledge is going to provide that gamified experience of Kahoot, where there are points up for grabs. And with our testing knowledge question types, points are generated throughout the Kahoot based on speed and accuracy. So that's how you do achieve points in any Kahoot that is being hosted or assigned. And then our collecting opinions question types, these are not going to have points associated with them. It's strictly just to gather an opinion, and therefore there is no correct answer to these ones. So polling, drop pin, word cloud, open-ended, and brainstorm are those. Now, with any of our testing knowledge question types, you are able to adjust the time limit. So the time in which you have or a student has to answer the question within. You can also adjust the points as well, adding in a little bit more excitement with a double point question, maybe shaking up that leaderboard slightly, or you can take away the stakes as a whole by doing no points. And then with our quiz and our poll, there is an option for single select and multi-select questions. So single and multi-select quiz, type answer, puzzle, true, false, and slider are those testing knowledge question types. And we also do have a math equation editor as well. Up in the top, you can access that here. And you can place in any of these different formulas or even the Greek alphabet into the question that you're asking. So now we're going to go through these different testing knowledge question types in case you haven't experienced them before. So if you can please type in, and don't forget to submit, who invented this equation? And I do see a couple questions in here about our character limits. At the moment, they're there. There's no way to expand them at this time. That is feedback that we do get quite often. So our team is aware of it, but at the moment, there's no way to increase the character limit. The only workaround I can provide is utilizing our slide features to, potentially introduce a question prior to having the actual quiz question there. But at the moment, there is no way to increase our character limits yourself. So the correct answer for this question is Einstein, or Albert Einstein. And you'll notice that with type answer, so you did have to actually type in the answer to the question. And when you're creating a type answer, you can have up to 4 correct answers or 4 accepted answers. But if you are hosting the Kahoot Live, you actually are able to see all of the answers submitted. And this is close enough. I'm happy to accept that. And so points will now be given to the player who submitted this. So now we're going to go ahead and submit that and go right on through. All right, so no change in the leaderboard there. And I do see the question about time being eliminated with a concern about accessibility or DRC accommodations. There is a way to eliminate time, and we'll be going through that a little bit later when it comes to our different ways to play. So now we're going to do a puzzle. So with puzzle, you are dragging and dropping these blocks into place. You're either double tapping them or you're just holding it down and dragging it up and down. And so what are the 4 steps in the scientific method? The first step will be at the top and the 4th step will be down at the bottom. So first step at the top, 4th at the bottom. Puzzle is really great for chronological events, maybe steps if you're presenting a case study and the steps that somebody needs to follow or what they would need to do. All right, so that is our puzzle question type. Let's see if there's any change. Oh, Team Juice overcame Team Coffee with that particular question. All right, and next we do have our slider question type. So when did construction on the Parthenon begin? So you are sliding across and you're simply going to then submit an answer. So make sure you do submit an answer, even if it's your best guess. And after this question, we are going to go back into the creator to have a look at this one because it is a newer question type for us. So I want to make sure it's very clear on how it can be created. All right, couple of guesses on 430. But 447 is the correct answer. But with slider, all of you will have received some points. Just you receive more points the closer you are to the correct answer. So not much change in the leaderboard there, but I am going to show you how slider works. So when creating a slider question type, all you need to do is place whatever number is the correct answer. And then you can also add in a unit. Maybe I'm doing states. And I'm able to adjust the minimum and the maximum. And the step value automatically adjusts accordingly as well. And then you'll notice here that answer margin, you are able to customize that. So you can only accept a low answer margin, or you can make it a little bit larger. For myself, I do like this maximum one. Again, because everyone gets some points, but the closer you are to the correct answer, the more points you get. Now, if you are wanting students to only submit the correct answer and only get points for the correct answer, you're also able to have that be the case with our slider question type. So now talking about collecting opinions and sparking discussion. So poll, we did a poll earlier. Drop pin is one of our newer question types as well. Word cloud, we also did that at the beginning of this Kahoot. Open-ended allows you to collect answers to open-ended questions. So students can actually type up to 250 characters and submit their answer. And then brainstorm allows you to propose, discuss, and vote on ideas as a group. So we are going to go through an open-ended question. So with our open-ended questions or our gathering feedback questions, collecting opinions, it is about getting that student feedback, almost using Kahoot as a survey tool. So out of curiosity, why do you think it's important to collect and review student feedback? There are no points for this, so you don't actually have to submit anything if you don't want to, but of course I encourage it. Open-ended is a really great way to simply ask if anyone does have any questions. If you're in a hybrid environment and you don't want to necessarily, only focus on students in the class, you can ask if anyone has questions with an open-ended Kahoot question and gather those questions through a Kahoot. You can also just ask a short answer response as well. Even though there's technically not a correct answer, that doesn't mean that there isn't one that you're trying to get out of them. You can also use it for retrieval. What's one thing you remembered from our last lecture as well. So just a couple of options for how you can use an open-ended question. Now you'll see here that I can decide to skip through or show all the answers, which I am going to do. Awesome. So I see a lot of great responses here to improve teaching performance, understand their progress. Yes, these are all amazing. This helps me improve my instruction. Absolutely. That student voice is so important and for them to be active in their learning experience. So this is how open-ended appears, just so you can see it as well. But thank you so much for your responses. Those are all great reasons why you need to collect and review student feedback. So now this is a drop pin question. So you are dragging the image around on your device. The pin actually stays stationary and you're dragging the image around, and then you need to submit it once the pin is exactly where you want it to be. And as you can see, I am actually assessing your understanding of, if you know where the nucleus is in a cell, but there is no correct answer for this question. There will be a version of this question type where there is a correct answer, but that will be released a little bit later this year. So I wanted to introduce it to you in a way that's used kind of for assessment, but this actually isn't, one of our testing knowledge question types. So you can use this. You can put a mood scale up and ask students how they're doing. You can also just put up a map of the world, maybe where would you like to travel to over the summer, things like that. But I like to use it kind of just to show how you can still assess with these question types, even though there are no points. And you can always remove those pins as well. And in the report of a drop pin question, you can actually see where each student dropped their pin on the image, which is a very cool feature. There's a question in the chat about max time you can give to students to answer an open-ended question. It depends on what way you're playing the Kahoot, because there is a way to eliminate time, but in the Kahoot creator, you can go max up to 4 minutes. You can give up to 4 minutes for students to be able to submit an open-ended question if you're hosting the Kahoot live, but there is a way to completely eliminate time in our asynchronous option of Kahoot as well, in which case they would basically have an infinite amount of time to be able to answer an open-ended question. All right, so also within our Kahoot creator, you do have access to rich media. So you have our GIF or our Getty library, our Unsplash library, our Giphy library. You can also add in audio and embed videos. So basically every single question type is going to have an area where you can insert media. So that's where you are going to see that Getty image library, Unsplash, GIFs, videos, and audio. Audio is very interesting. Basically, you can type in text. Let me make sure my volume's up for this one.
Hi, my name is Sydney.
So you can place in audio to be read aloud to the students, and you can type in exactly what you want to be read aloud. So whether or not that is the actual question itself that you're asking, in taking consideration accessibility, you could do so, or you can simply say, ask the question, what is my name? And then they'll have to listen into what the audio is saying in order to know the answer. Now, additionally, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but talking about embedding videos, my favorite place to embed videos is actually using our slides. So our slides allow you to create these interactive presentations or to provide context, moments for pause, as you can see through my Kahoot. But this big media slide allows you to place a video into your Kahoot and have all the focus be on this video. So rather than the video being on a question itself where students are having to watch the video and answer questions at the same time, you can actually place a video as a standalone on a slide. And yes, to the question about, is there a character limit? There's a character limit basically on everything. There is a character limit within Kahoot. If that's a question in regards to the audio, it looks like it's 120. And to the question about LMS gradebook integration, there is a way for you to get Kahoot into your LMS, but there is not a grade passback integration. That does not exist. It is something that we're considering, but we're being very careful with, just because we do want Kahoot to still be fun for students and engaging for them, and we want them to enjoy it. But so grade passback is something, again, that we are considering, but it's just something that we're being very careful about. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on into the session. So quiz, double points. Images can magically appear. Which European capital city is this? So image reveal can provide a hint to the answer to the question, also reveal the answer to the question itself, such as this question. Yes, Paris is the correct answer. All right, Team Coffee is back up top, Team Tea in second, and Juice down at the bottom. This is an example of how an embedded video looks in a Kahoot. So again, you can embed those videos right into a slide. I can go full screen. I can even turn on captions if needed, and so on and so forth. And with our videos, you do have to copy and paste from either YouTube or Vimeo. So they do have to be on one of those two platforms in order to embed videos into your Kahoot. All right, so creating and teaching interactive lessons. Again, that's what we're experiencing right now. This is an interactive lesson Kahoot. So you can, of course, do these live or virtually. You can also assign these as well, of course. And so it just allows you to instruct and engage at the same time. So rather than just hosting a little review Kahoot at the end of your lectures, you could actually embed Kahoot into your instruction from the beginning. And I showed you our various slide templates for you to just easily be able to bring in, content into your Kahoot. But you also have the ability to import slides as well. So you can import slides from existing presentations from any of these supported file formats. So you can import entire slide decks into Kahoot and then build out those moments of engagement or those questions, those feedback gathering question types in the Kahoot. And just to show you what it looks like to create an interactive presentation, this is how it appears. So each slide appears, as a slide over here or as a part of the Kahoot. And then all you have to do is simply place those questions exactly where you want them throughout the presentation. So with Kahoot EDU, you can create interactive lessons by importing slides from which of these tools? I do see the question in the chat, and I'm happy to answer this after we go through this question. All right, yes, all of these, PowerPoint, Keynote, Google Slides, and PDF files, are all tools that you can use to import into the Kahoot creator. All right, not much change in the scoreboard there. And to address the question, if you import a slide with animation, like appearing bullet points in a PowerPoint, will the animations be lost? Yes. So everything does import flat. Animations, transitions, videos will not be imported into the Kahoot. So that's something to keep in mind. But that's again where you can kind of lean on our Kahoot slide templates to embed those videos and to provide those different aspects of your PowerPoint that might not translate when imported into the Kahoot. All right, so you are also able to theme your Kahoots if you're interested in doing that. So I have this Kahoot theme here that I created. You can do that all within the creator itself by simply just, you can use any of our existing themes. It will theme the entire Kahoot. You can also create your own as well, just by uploading a background, choosing a contrast color, and you can even include a logo as well. So any Zoom backgrounds that you might have that might be appropriate, you could theme your entire Kahoot accordingly. Another option you have in Kahoot, so we've been talking about kind of creating a single Kahoot. So a Kahoot is a learning game or an interactive presentation. So you can also create courses as well. So courses is where you can combine Kahoots together. So you can combine several different Kahoots to be part of a course. You can also include documents, so any PDF files. So if you do have a PDF, maybe syllabus, then you have a couple of Kahoots that you're wanting to host alongside it, that can be collected together into a course, and it can be hosted synchronously or asynchronously as well. This is a feature that will be developed further over this next year quite significantly. So it's one to keep an eye out for, and potentially we can have a follow-up training on courses specifically. Now, last but not least, we've talked a lot about creating Kahoots, but there is a lot of existing material already available within our Discover page. So whether that's through educators from all around the world or any of our premium publishers, you can easily just go ahead and play these Kahoots live or assign these Kahoots as is. So you don't actually need to create anything yourself. And if it is a Kahoot created by another educator or another Kahoot user, you are able to duplicate those existing Kahoots to save time. So just to show you what that looks like, if I go into our Discover page and I check in on one of our verified educators and like this Kahoot right here, again, all I need to do is start or assign it if I do like it as is. You can also practice it to experience it on your own. But if you are wanting to edit or customize this Kahoot in any way, all you have to do is click edit, and it's going to prompt you to create a duplicate copy of that Kahoot so you can customize it accordingly. Is there a size limit on files? I do believe so. This is the max file size at 80. Right here. Great question. Also worth noting that if you do host a Kahoot that is not created by yourself or owned by yourself, the report does come back to you. You as the host of that Kahoot, or if you're assigning that Kahoot, the report only comes to you. It does not go to that other individual that the Kahoot is technically owned by. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, in your Kahoot EDU account, you can collaborate across your entire campus. So in your Kahoot EDU account, you'll notice that you have two different workspaces. So one is your personal workspace, which is going to represent your Kahoot account prior to joining the EDU subscription. So any Kahoots that you have that you've created in the past without being part of an EDU subscription, this is where your Kahoots will be. This is a personal workspace, so this is only accessible to yourself. So any Kahoots saved in here are only visible to you unless you make them public and then are available in the Discover page. And any Kahoot that you host from your personal workspace will generate a report in this workspace. Now, what we want to encourage you to do is actually create and host your Kahoots primarily from your shared workspace. This is likely called Truckee Meadows or Tmcc. And so this is the workspace that all of you have access to for anyone who has an EDU license. So in this shared workspace, you're going to have the library where you can keep your Kahoots in My Folders, meaning they're not automatically shared with the rest of the users that are part of the subscription, whereas any Kahoots saved in the team folders are going to be shared with anyone who does have an EDU license. So any Kahoots saved in the team folders, you all would be able to see. And if any two of you do ever want to edit a Kahoot, let me go ahead and unlock this real quick. If two of you do want to edit the exact same copy of a Kahoot, you can do so as long as it's saved into the team folders. So this is able to be edited by anyone else with access to it, but you are able to lock this Kahoot if you are wanting to prevent anybody else from editing this original copy. And if a Kahoot is locked, the way that you would customize it if you do want to is simply just by creating that duplicate copy. And if you do need to move Kahoots, that option is here. You can move Kahoots across to different folders. You can move them even into or between your personal workspace and your shared workspace, depending on where you want them to be. Another option you have is to duplicate Kahoots into various places as well. All right, so true or false. In this shared workspace, different users can make edits to the same Kahoot. Yes, it is true. So again, if you do want to prevent that from happening, you just need to lock the Kahoot. So that's something to keep in mind. Yes, so you can, but again, that lock feature allows you to prevent that from happening. And then if anyone does come across a locked Kahoot that they do want to make edits to, you simply just duplicate the Kahoot instead. Now, another option you have for sharing and collaborating are groups, and groups do allow you to share content with specific users. So how many groups can you create with Kahoot EDU? Yes, unlimited. So groups are available to you over here. And again, so with the library, all of you with access to the EDU subscription have access to that shared library. But if you are wanting to focus in and only share Kahoots with specific users, maybe other educators who teach something similar to you, you can create a group with only those people. Really easy to invite users. And when Kahoots are shared to a group, you'll notice that the only options you have are to go ahead and start or assign that Kahoot, or you can also duplicate the Kahoot. So that edit feature, that collaboration, is only available in the library, but you can really easily share Kahoots or even folders of Kahoots into a group if you are wanting to share with only specific groups of people. A question about students can maintain their same groups throughout the semester. So it's an interesting question. Students, they are able to have Kahoot accounts, and you are actually able to invite external users into a group. So you could actually have a Kahoot group with student users, but that's a completely separate, they just have their own Kahoot account that is in no way connected to this EDU account. So something that's really important to know and understand is that students do not need Kahoot accounts to play Kahoots. So a student can engage with any Kahoot that you host or assign without ever creating a Kahoot account. But if a student does have a Kahoot account and you do want to have them in a group, you definitely are able to do that. All you would need to do is, if you were wanting to switch out the users in a specific group, you just need to have a look at the members and adjust accordingly. As the owner of that group, you can remove people from the group, you can re-invite them back into the group, all those different options. And you can even look at these different settings for if you want them to be able to invite others, you only want to be the only person to invite or the only person to share content, so on and so forth. All right, so let's see if that did anything. Not so much. So now we're going to go into our different ways to play. So again, we have our teaching Kahoots, or our live version of Kahoots, which is what we're doing right now. It creates a little bit of a competitive atmosphere. You can deliver those interactive presentations. Everyone is going through the experience at the same time. Now, what we haven't talked so much about is assigning Kahoot. So this is our asynchronous option within Kahoot. So you don't always have to be the game show host if you don't want to be. You can set a deadline or leave it open. This is where you can turn off the question timer to prioritize accuracy. And it's really great for homework or even providing Kahoots as a study source or material. So playing live in teams, that's what we're doing right now. So because there were so many of you, I wanted to show you all this feature because it's one of my personal favorites. So all of you are answering every question, but you're contributing towards a team score. So it's really great for team-based learning or team-based collaboration. And what's really awesome about team mode is that because all of you are still answering every question in the Kahoot, I will be able to look at the report and see how each of you did individually, along with how you did in your teams as well. So it's quite a comprehensive report that you do get with this version of team mode. So if you haven't tried it yet, I do recommend it. So now to dive into assignments. So whenever you do want to assign a Kahoot, you're going to be given an option of whether you want to set a deadline or not. So you can leave the Kahoot quite open. Of course, you can end it whenever you need to. Once it's ended, that link is expired. There's no way to reopen that assignment. You would simply just need to create a new assignment with the same Kahoot and maybe share it with any students who missed that window. But again, you can leave it open for as long as you need and end it whenever you need to. And here's that option to turn off the question timer. This is one of my most favorite, very subtle features in Kahoot that I'm not sure many people are aware of. But I really think this does open up so many opportunities with Kahoot and so many more use cases, not only keeping in mind for accessibility, maybe if English is someone's second language, maybe you're just introducing the Kahoot at the start of a unit and you're allowing students to look up the answers to the questions. This allows you to prioritize accuracy over speed. This will actually not capture speed points at all. So you're just focusing on accuracy whenever you're turning off the question timer. There's a question in the chat about, can a person change their answer in a live session if they accidentally submitted an answer by accident? Unfortunately, they're not able to do that. So they're not able to change their answer once submitted. But of course, if they type in something and then they need to delete it and then retype it again, as long as they do that before submitting, that's fine. But once they submit it, there's no way that they can go back and change it. But great question. And then there's a couple other settings down here, but that player limit is 2,000 as we mentioned. And once you create an assignment, this is the page that you come to. So you've essentially generated a live report. So this report does update live. So if you do even share the link to an assigned Kahoot or just write the game pin up at the top of your board, or you give the game pin to students for them to play, you would be able to see this update live as they were going through the Kahoot. So you just need to copy this URL and share it. You can also share it with any of our various integrations. You can also share it via the game pin. And here's where you can change that deadline or end it whenever you need to. So that is our assigned Kahoots kind of reports. And then, so again, you can watch it update live, and that's how assignments work. Now, how can you share an assigned Kahoot? So which of these options? Sharing the game pin, copying and pasting the link where you post assignments, embed the assignment in an LMS, share through one of our integrations. It's assigned and shared with students automatically. Yes, so share the game pin, copy and paste the link, embed it, share through one of our integrations. This one, not so much, because again, you do have to physically share it. You do have to give it to the students in some way. That's not integrated with anything. So you do need to copy and paste that link and place it somewhere for the students to be able to access. Or again, you just can write down that game pin on the top of your board if you are with students in person. And next, we are going to talk about that embed code that you are able to generate in Kahoot. So you are able to embed an assigned Kahoot into your LMS. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let me just create one really quickly. So after you create the assignment, the embed option is going to be available to you. And here's that iframe code that within your LMS should have a feature to accept an embed code. And so all you have to do is copy and paste this and put it into your LMS as an assignment. And this allows students to go through the Kahoot completely within your LMS without ever needing to leave it. So where you're putting your other assignments or where you're building out courses within your LMS, you can embed a Kahoot. So actually place an entire Kahoot within your LMS. So again, the report of the Kahoot is still going to be in your Kahoot EDU account. It's not going to be fully integrated into the gradebook for your LMS. But if you're simply customizing the submission where you're saying, hey, what was the answer to the last question? And you're just trying to see that they went through the Kahoot and so on and so forth, you can kind of do some workarounds to figure out a nice way to be able to give them a grade, even if it's just for participation. So that's how you can embed that there. All right. And now we're going to talk about reports, and we're coming up really close to time. So I'm going to go ahead and go through, and then I promise I will get to that question towards the end, but I just want to make sure that we have enough time to go through reports. So again, every Kahoot that's played either live or assigned generates a report. So with an assigned Kahoot, that's basically done immediately. You're creating that live report that you can see it updating live. But once a Kahoot is completed, so a live Kahoot is completed or the assignment has ended, you do get this comprehensive report immediately afterwards. So that's an important thing to know. It's not like you get the results emailed to you a day later. It actually is immediate that you can go in and see how the students did. So this was an assigned Kahoot back in September last year, almost a year ago. As you can see, I get the overall accuracy percentage. I'm also prompted to review and look at the questions that were most difficult for students. And if there are more than 3 difficult questions, I can create a Kahoot only out of those difficult questions. So by doing that, I can maybe host that Kahoot the next time that we meet together for lecture and say, hey, you all struggled with this last time, let's go through it to begin today. You can also assign it as homework as well if you want to, but we just make it really easy for you to take content that was originally difficult and then plug it in to future instruction and allow students to review. Now, the data for players comes from 2 different directions. So you can look at the questions themselves or the players. Now, the final score is what's going to create that podium, and that's what's also creating our leaderboard throughout the Kahoot. But what you're going to want to focus on is this percentage accuracy. So this actually is the reporting on how many correct answers did they get within this Kahoot. And I can click into each player and see how they answered every single question, which is really helpful when you have those open-ended questions such as so you can actually see how each student responded. You also are able to download reports. So if you are wanting to download, manipulate, and then import elsewhere, you can. So that is an option, and you can always rename your reports in case you are wanting to specify it for a particular group of students that you maybe shared this assignment with, so it's easier to find later. Now, player identifier is a feature available to you. So I didn't ask for a player identifier when you all joined today, but this is a setting that you can turn on for both live Kahoots and assigned Kahoots, where you're capturing an identifying piece of information more often than not an email. So when a student is joining the Kahoot, they enter in the game pin, they're then asked for their email, and then they enter in their nickname. So the nickname is what's displayed throughout the game, throughout the Kahoot. And that identifier just appears next to their name in the report. So you're able to see the student behind the nickname. So again, this is a setting. So up here in the corner, it's available to you here, that player identifier. And then when you're setting up an assignment, you can also capture that player identifier as well. What type of files can you download for the report? It downloads in a pretty large Excel file. With all of the information that probably more information that you probably could even ask for when downloading a report. All right, so which of these can an advanced report not give you information on? It should be pretty easy once you see it. Yes, it cannot give you information on the weather forecast, but it does give you a summary of the trickiest and easiest questions. that is simply just available in the questions here, where you can actually even organize them based on how well the players did. All right, coming towards the end, we do have a couple of powerful integrations that you can seek more information on, both within Zoom and PowerPoint. Our PowerPoint add-on actually allows you to embed an entire Kahoot onto a PowerPoint slide. So if you're not wanting to give up those transitions or animations, you can place an entire Kahoot within PowerPoint. You aren't able to build out the questions in the middle of the slides. That does require you to import them into the Kahoot creator. But at the very least, you can just bring in a Kahoot into your PowerPoint. All right, so now we're towards the end. So I'm just curious about which EDU features are more interesting for yourself. And then I am happy to address any of the questions that remain in the chat. So which of these features? All right, so advanced question types for sure. We also like the reports, collaboration, importing slides for interactive lessons. Awesome. Okay, so we are going to skip through this brainstorm because I do just want to make sure that I answer all your questions. So to Kelly's question, is this still accessible if the student only has one mode of online access? For example, if they are logged into Zoom for class on their phone, can they still access the Kahoot and stay on Zoom? So embedding would allow them to do this. So with the embed code, you are embedding an assigned Kahoot only into an LMS. So all a student would need to do is log on to their LMS. If you all, I think you might use Canvas. So they would just log into Canvas. They would see the courses and the assignments that are assigned to them. And a Kahoot would be one of those. So the entire Kahoot is embedded on the screen. So that option to turn off the question timer, that way to play is how you embed a Kahoot within an LMS. And then in regards to just, say if they're joining Zoom through their phone, it might be a little bit more difficult to play a Kahoot in that way. If they're doing a live Kahoot. If they're doing an assigned Kahoot, that is a single screen experience that just is, you only need one device for that naturally. But because, sorry, I'm answering this question in a couple different ways. So as you've experienced in this Kahoot, we actually have had the questions and answers appearing on your device. So with that being said, if someone is connected to Zoom and they have maybe the Kahoot app open on another window, they can go through the Kahoot because they can still see everything on their device. They might not be able to see your Zoom so much anymore, but they can see the entire Kahoot and play the Kahoot within it. You all don't actually need to be seeing my screen right now because you can see everything on your second device. So I hope that answers the question, but let me know if not. Yes, so to Frank's question, the files you can download is in an Excel file. I would recommend, deleting some of the sheets that maybe come with that download. And then, yes, in theory, you can import that elsewhere into Canvas if that's your choice. Yes, and to Kelly's question again, does TMCC have a Kahoot EDU subscription? Absolutely. How do you access it? You'll need to get in touch with Tommy, who was on the call earlier. So you'll just need to reach out to them, and then you can get access into the TMCC Kahoot EDU account. Yes, you should not be entering in any credit card information at all. If you don't have a Kahoot account yet, you can create a free one, just choosing to, sign up for basic, continuing for free. And then once you do that, you can be invited to the EDU subscription. You'll either be invited through a link or through email invitation. And it's really easy to connect your Kahoot account into the EDU subscription. Yes, I do mean Tommy Guy. And you'll know you've been successful once you see this big red K-EDU up in the top left corner of your screen. That's how you know that you've landed in the right place. So if you don't have access to Kahoot EDU yet, feel free to reach out to Tommy Guy. She'll be able to help you. And yeah, thank you all so much. I appreciate your time. I know we only have about 1 minute left. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and stop recording.